I've been kind of I go to different places and watch different podcasts about, whatever, but I've been watching like missing podcasts about people that go into the national parks or go hiking. I've been kind of looking at this one called Bryan's Mysteries on Trail, I think. Not, a play on trial. I think that's the word. I'm going to include the link, but it's a really good narrator. And then there's another one, I think it's called Missing Enigma, that I watch. I don't watch any of the David Paulides or Pal, whatever his name is, ex-cop who is a grifter for fucking trying to steal your money and bullshit with Bigfoot and missing 411. I just want you to know. So I don't fuck with any of that shit. The guy's an asshole. I'm into facts. I'm not into like, oh, there could have been a ghost or some shit. You know what I mean? So anyways, my main thing that I see is I see people, and it seems they always say to people or always think that, oh, the person was an expert hiker. Now, I don't know, to you, what is considered an expert hiker? The fact that your mom thinks you're an expert hiker and you have some fancy gadgets that make you look like an expert hiker, or that you've hiked for 5 or 10 years and never died. I don't know. But to me, I think people get lost in this verbiage of, well, they were an expert hiker. Well, that doesn't mean that you're never going to fucking end up. An expert hiker is somebody that when they end up in an emergency or a life-threatening situation or an injury, that they can get themselves out of it if they do get lost, because expert hikers can get lost. So what I'm getting at is, I see one, I'm not trying to sound misogynistic or like I'm in the 1950s, but women that want to travel alone in parks. I don't think a man traveling alone is a good idea, ever. But these people that travel without any kind of weapon, be it concealed carry, and I know you're not supposed to carry a gun in a state park, but I don't give a fuck, I would anyways. Or I would at least carry bear mace. And people go, what if there's no bears? Well, it's not for bears. It's for some fucking serial rapist that's been waiting on the bike path or the path for you to come down. I would definitely have something. That being said, I really feel like the main thing that happens to people is they never have enough clothes, or they never have enough water. Or very rarely do I ever hear somebody having like GPS or signal flares or any way to light a fire. So those people to me aren't expert hikers. Another thing that I find is people don't know how to use a compass or read a map, because when your electronics are dead, you don't have anything else. You know what I mean? So my thing is, I read a lot of these are so unfortunate. And a lot of these, come here, Hercules, I'll stop. A lot of these people are found not too far from, like civilization. They're not, some people are found a mile, 70 yards away from like a main road or something. And that's crazy to me, but that's what happens. So my thing is, I feel like people, it's like, I'm a great swimmer. I've rescued people from drowning. I don't consider myself an expert swimmer. I've rescued people out of rip currents, rip tides, out of canals with undertows. Not like fucking Coast Guard style, but enough that I consider, I've been swimming since I was a kid. I would never underestimate the power of an ocean or a river or even a swimming pool. So my thing is, I really feel like people, when you get, you probably can't see it up there, but there's a squirrel just laying on a branch up there. When you get lost, I feel like you get yourself loster. You know, like you become more lost by trying to get your way out of there, which is the first reaction, because nobody wants to sit and wait. But when you're in heat and you're in freezing climates, obviously you want to find appropriate shelter, you know, because that I understand. But a lot of times people walk themselves to death, literally, like they're walking to their death. So my main thing is try to, you know, if you don't have a way to send a signal to somebody, you know, try to stay within the general area of where you got lost. That is probably not going to happen, or people wouldn't be getting fucking lost. The other thing is, don't underestimate the amount of water you need. Don't, you know, I'm not saying bring the kitchen sink, because I've hiked with people that they bring so much shit, and we're going for literally like 4-mile hike in an area where you can hear traffic. But, you know, I've had people get like snowed in on the New York State Thruway, you know what I mean? And people died out there, you know, and they could see houses, they couldn't get to them, you know. Some people, you know, that happened in 2014. But my main thing is I see these people that, you know, I'm all for adventures. I'm not saying that you should stay home and play it safe, because I didn't do that in my life. I traveled all across America and went and did what I wanted to do, and I feel like women should be able to enjoy the same luxuries as men. However, it is not the halcyonic days of Mayberry and Fonzie on television and Americana and Buddy Holly's on the charts and the milkman still delivers milk to your house. There is no such thing as safety. You know, there's only such thing as being ready and being as prepared as possible. So I always tell people, water. I carry so much water with me to work in my truck that people think it's ridiculous to have 2.5 gallons of water and ice, and I keep refilling water at gas stations or petrol stations, as we say here in the UK, because what if, you know, something happens to my car, you know, and I get in an accident, God forbid, or I go off road or something fucked up happens. You want to have enough stuff. But I don't know, I watch these things, and how are you? I watch these things and I just say so many of these deaths are just so, like, you know, like go on the Appalachian Trail by yourself, male or female, is just not, it's not ever going to be a good idea. You know what I mean? I don't care if you were a Navy SEAL, a Ranger, a fucking Delta Force. I don't care if you're Chuck Norris. It's not a good idea to ever go out into an area like that where you're thousands of miles of potential getting lost. You know, then you look at places like that, like in New Mexico or like the desert, you know, like there's, you know, that shit will kill you out there. I mean, I just don't think people realize that, you know, how much energy that someone can waste being lost. Anyways, my main thing is, you know, you can't stop people from living their lives. You know, I know that we have to have some form of like risk to reward ratio, but don't be, you know, like, you know, some grown-ass man that's in bad, you know, physical health, you know, that's like way overweight. Oh, look at a marble. Somebody lost their marbles, literally. Somebody that's, you know, overweight and whatever. Yeah, I'm not saying don't go hiking, but be, you know, you're not going to cover a lot of ground, you know, like be, you know, try to like think about shit like a woman. Like some women walk slower than men, you know, and just, I don't know, like people just go it's like there's a threshold limit. I see people hurt themselves at the gym, and I just want to go, you have unreasonably, put yourself at risk for no reason. Try not to do that in life.